Nothing like a little Monday afternoon studio shutdown to get the blood pumping right before you do the show. So good to be here with you on this Monday. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you are with us all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. We've got a lot to get to coming up. We've got Wes Durham going to join us, voice of the Falcons, and co-host of Packer and Durham on the ACC Network. We'll talk ACC hoops. And we'll also talk some ACC football as well. And Doc Herbert, Platinum Sombrero broadcast, will join us. We'll talk some Braves baseball with him as Braves pitchers and catchers report on Thursday down in Florida. So baseball will be back before you know it. But a lot of football to get to always here on the show. BJ and Ben, Gus Malzahn out of work for seemingly the equivalent of about 30 seconds. Auburn lets him go, gives him the huge buyout. And today, he is the head football coach at Central Florida.
Well, a great hire by Central Florida, by UCF. And UCF has obviously had some coaching turnover the last couple of years, but they've done a really nice job of evaluating and hiring head coaches. And I think, I don't want to speak for all of us, but I think we kind of looked around like, when Gus Malzahn was fired at the end of the season. This is a guy with a winning resume, a guy with an SEC championship, a guy who was been a play away from a national championship, a guy who has coached some of the best players in college football, has recruited at an extremely high level. And when he got fired, I think we all thought, okay, he's going to land somewhere pretty quick. In Tennessee, I thought that was a real option, a chance to stay in the SEC. But Tennessee opts for UCF's Josh Heupel. UCF looks around and goes, okay, we'll take Gus Malzahn. And what's interesting about this hire is I think it further affirms Central Florida as a national name, right? Central Florida, folks can make fun of it or whatever, but the NCAA recognizes their undefeated season in 2017 as a verifiable national championship. They've put players in the National Football League. They've had superstar quarterbacks from Mackenzie Milton to now Dylan Gabriel, who's one of the best players in the country. You bring in Gus Malzahn, you're going to recruit, you're going to win. UCF probably had the potential to be a top 25 program already. Now you talk about Malzahn leading that charge, and they're going to be a national name. Ben, if I'm Florida, certainly if I'm Florida State and Miami, I'm looking around going, okay, you have my attention. Great hire by UCF, and I think this further strengthens the group of five. This is a mid-major by an outdated distinction only. UCF wins, they spend money, they have great players, they have big-time coaches. Really nice job by UCF.
Yeah, and the thing is, too, that UCF and big-time college in the state of Florida is trying to stick with those big names. I mean, BJ, at one point, you had Charlie Strong and Lane Kiffin and Butch Jones. You had a lot of guys, with big names. And I think you look at a team like UCF, they don't want to lose that momentum of being in the national conversation. They know that what were we missing? We missing a big name coach that can speak up on our behalf when it comes. So now if they go undefeated and Gus Malzahn says something, that's more of a national headline compared to it just being maybe to a couple of news outlets. And once a coach, always a coach. I think we get caught up in this coach got to coach here. No, Gus Malzahn wants to be a head coach. If UCF want to be now, he said let's look at this for a second. I can go UCF or Tennessee. I'm going to go UCF. It's not like I'm hurting for money. He's still getting some of that buyout money, a lot of that buyout money, from Auburn, BJ. But, yes, I definitely think it kind of goes with a UCF school that we'll deal with being, a laughing stock for saying we the national champ. We'll deal with the fact that we did beat Auburn and then we lost. Only game we lost in the 2-year span was to LSU, led by Joe Burrow. Didn't have the season they wanted to last year, but Gus Malzahn at Auburn said to himself, where did I get my best players from? Where are the best players and how coming from? They're coming out of the state of Florida. So I got them right here in my neck of the woods. I don't got to even leave the state to field my team. I got to be able to deal with it. I'm not recruiting the same players as maybe Florida State, and Miami, but I can snatch some players from USF. I can snatch some players from FAU, FIU. So, yeah, great hire by them. Gus Malzahn took his time, really definitely had options because just like if I go to an SEC school and transfer, I got my pick of the litter. Well, if I've been an SEC head coach that, almost won a national championship, I'm pretty sure another team wants me to, be the head of their organization. So, yeah, I think it is a great hire. But now, he got to go out there and win, BJ, because when you're a big name, the production got to come with that. You can't just say I'm Gus Malzahn, because they will compare what you do at UCF to what you did at Auburn, and you guys won there. So perception definitely ain't gonna be reality all the time when it comes to UCF. But I will say, boosting your resume and your reputation can definitely be done with a name like Gus Malzahn.
And again, it brings you relevancy there to Central Florida, as you said, BJ, wanting to stay in that spotlight there in Central Florida. Large university there in Orlando, trying to push their brand forward. And what better way to do that than go rip a guy that's been in the SEC for a long time? I know he was fired by Auburn, but that's of no concern if you're Central Florida. I think this is a guy that will certainly continue what Central Florida has built there for the Golden Knights program, no question, and might be a little bit less stressful than what he was dealing with at Auburn as well.
Well, that's a fair point. Not that UCF doesn't want to win. They do, and they have the national success to validate that. But, at Auburn, at Tennessee, at South Carolina, in the SEC, you not only have to win, you have to win by enough points. You have to win and look right when you win. You have to win and then say the right thing after the press conference or during the press conference. You have to win and then make sure you're getting commitments from the top high school players in the country. There's a lot that comes with being a head coach in the SEC, and it can be kind of a meat grinder. I mean, it can wear you down. It can wear you out. And would I be stunned if a
meat grinder?
Would I be stunned in a couple of years, Ben, if I see Gus Malzahn back in the SEC? No. But would I be stunned if he's still at UCF and he's successful there, winning games, competing on a national stage? No, I wouldn't be stunned at that either.
Yeah, and if you Gus Malzahn, this is kind of what you want for you in your coaching career, because you're right, BJ. Yes, if you're in the SEC, it is going to be rough, and no matter what, everybody not – if you the Alabamas and the Auburns of the world, which you was in, and the Tennessees and the Floridas, you expect to go out there and compete. I don't care what you did or didn't do the year before. UCF, you go out there and have an undefeated season, it's because you got to go beat a team like Auburn in the Peach Bowl for everybody to see, for somebody to give you national relevancy. When you talk about UCF, now they go out there and have a good season, go to a bowl game, talk trash about the other teams in that state, saying we the best team in the state. I think Gus Malzahn can get on that, because I do think, BJ, maybe get away from the SEC. I'm tired of being buttoned up. I'm tired of having to say all the right things. I want to be able to say what's on my mind. I don't see him giving back money to keep his staff together. He did that in Auburn. He will not be doing that in Orlando. But hey, man, you're going from a small town to a big city. They definitely gonna welcome with open arms. You know what, Mickey and all those guys. So shout out to them UCF boys right now.
And again, staying in those national news, maybe if they go undefeated again, Gus will hoist the second national championship banner there in Orlando.
Please don't do that, Gus.
Why?
Kevin, if they do go undefeated again, do he got to go with the tradition, or do we come up there and say, "Come on, let's stop this nonsense"? I mean,
he's flying the banner. Why? Because it probably helps recruiting, and you further what he would have done at Auburn has no bearing on what he would do at Central Florida, right? I mean, if you're at Central Florida, you ride for the Knights. If we're undefeated, you're not going to let us in the playoffs. Fine. National championship, undefeated.
Okay, you guys also realize that the NCAA recognizes 2017 as a national championship for USF.
USF or
What do you mean?
UCF, excuse me.
And shame on the NCAA starting that nonsense. BJ, I'm just saying. Oh, my goodness.
They're AD now at Tennessee. So we've had leadership certificates, leadership reps. Maybe Danny White, if Tennessee goes like 8-4, will be the de facto SEC pseudo champs, and they can fly a banner. How about that?
If that's what we're doing now. I mean, these participation trophies.
I mean, let me ask you guys a question, because Kevin, you've spoken on this subject for as long as I can remember. Ben, you as well. Is college football as we know it, is currently constructed, ever going to give UCF a national championship?
No, yeah, they already did it. Yeah, they gave them one. Yeah.
No, they didn't. No, UCF gave themselves one. I don't have a problem with it.
Obviously, the thing is, BJ, you know the answer to that is no, because the thing, you got to, number one, to be recognized, you got to be one of the biggest brands in the state. They're never going to do that. They can't compete with Disney World right there in that same city. People are in Orlando to go see Mickey and Minnie, not to see the Knights. Sorry, I'm just saying. But UCF is never going to be nationally recognized as a national champion unless something drastic happens. And you know that's not going to happen, BJ. So they'll do it, find a way to keep them out. So UCF, keep going undefeated. Gus Malzahn, start speaking up for your Knights. But that's the only national champion they're going to get. It'll be a play national championship, not a real.
I think Gus will have them in the news. Would not be surprised if they get maybe at least early a nice spot to showcase themselves because Gus Malzahn is the coach there on the sidelines in Orlando. We've got more to come here on 3 and Out. We'll continue to hit football news. We talked about one particular situation in Jacksonville that nobody thought was cool. It resolved itself over the weekend, but where does that leave the Jaguars? We'll hit that next. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you're with us all across the network. Streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You can catch us there as well. That's right, YouTube. Have you heard, Christian? YouTube page. We have that up at ESPN Coastal. Yeah. You can check the show out there as well. If you missed any portion of the show, it'll be archived there as well. But we talked late last week. BJ and Ben, Urban Meyer released the last remaining pieces of his staff, and one of those names was Chris Doyle, brought in as a player development guy, director of player performance, the official title. And a lot of people said, is that the same Chris Doyle that took a buyout to basically get told to leave at Iowa because of a lot of inappropriate conduct between himself and the players, and language between himself towards the players, and maybe still has current that's the same guy. Yeah, that guy. And then that caught everybody's attention around the league and around the world of sports, saying, what are you thinking, Urban Meyer? And, I said, look, there's no way this guy makes it to the first game. And, well, he didn't even make it to Monday. He came in, turned his resignation. So, again, say what you want. He's out, but they didn't fire him. He resigned. Maybe it was one of those mutual things. Hey, we think you should quit. Why don't you just resign? So, but still, he resigned over the weekend and will not be involved with the Jaguars franchise. Too little, too late, with not enough explanation. BJ, what say you?
Yeah, I mean, it was a terrible decision. It was the wrong decision, given the allegations of racial mistreatment and the commentary and the things that were said and the way he acted. It was, I mean, Ben, I called you when it happened and said, what? I mean, how? Why? What is going on? And the backlash was as it should have been. It was dumbfounding. I mean, I don't understand. It was the wrong decision. It was tone deaf. It was insensitive. It was incorrect. It was lacking any sort of just foresight or awareness or respect or appreciation. And Ben, it was something that I could not explain, that I really could not process. And I was like Kevin. I was not surprised that we reached a point where, however it came down, the resignation, or if you were told, hey, this isn't going to happen, or if Doyle himself decided, hey, I'm not doing this. But for Jacksonville, it's a good thing to move forward, move on without Chris Doyle. But this is still a black eye. This is still a bad look. This was still the wrong call. And Jacksonville, Urban Meyer deserves criticism for this. Yes, absolutely.
And I hope people continue to criticize Urban Meyer for this, because everybody has their welcome to the NFL moment. Everybody think that, I'm going to the big leagues. Urban Meyer got this job because of what he did in college. That's how everybody get there, whether you're a coach or a player. My resume gives me the opportunity to go to the next level. Urban Meyer don't like the fact that public criticism and public perception caused one of his friends to have to resign. He don't like that. That's why, like you just said, BJ and Kevin said, they go in and say, hey, could you go out there and resign? Because it makes it look like you wanting to walk away, not that we made a bad hire. This is what I like about the NFL, that you seeing why a lot of coaches stay in college. See, if he's in college, can't nobody make him get rid of Chris Doyle. Not the media, not the president, not the AD. I do what I want. Well, no, you did what you wanted to do. Now this is big boy league. Chris Doyle did himself a favor. Chris Doyle would have got the hell beat out of that stuff that Chris Doyle was saying to those players at Iowa. I'm telling y'all, if there's a coach or a player that has some type of persona or perception about themselves, you gonna get tried. That's how the NFL works. Oh, you that guy that used to do this and say that. Say it to me. Because if I even think you're saying, now if I'm coming in with a clean slate and I don't know, you can probably say a lot of things to me because you don't have a track record. You got a track record. If somebody go, what you say? So that's what I like the most about what just happened. Chris Doyle thought, man, I'm coming to the big leagues. I don't got to talk about Iowa no more. No, you're not. What you got to see what it felt like to be, for a day? You gone. Urban Meyer now get to say we should have did more vetting. You ain't vet nobody. Who did you vet? Like, come on, let's be honest with ourselves. Who did Urban Meyer vet? Hey, Coach Strong, we got Chris Doyle. You think you're a good guy? Yeah. He's asking a bunch of guys who's going to say yes because I'm not trying to say anything to mess up my future plans. Every assistant coach on this staff, if you're an assistant coach, a trainer, or equipment guy, you're not trying to mess up your future plans. So, yes, Urban Meyer saw what it felt like to be told, hell no. And it was about time because he ain't heard that in a while. Forget Chris Doyle. Nobody has more baggage ever coming to the league than Urban Meyer. But people say, yeah, but baby, he won natties. And I know I love 30 for 30s, Kevin, but when it come out for that 2006, 2008, I'm going to get all the popcorn I can get. It is going to be crazy. But I do like it. You have to be humble. And you're not going to humble yourself. Who do that? No, you have to be humble. I know this is one moment, but BJ, Urban Meyer better win. Because if he starts losing, they're going to keep coming back to everything he's done. And I think it should be like that.
Let me ask you this, Ben, for guys who are in the locker room, guys who are already with Jacksonville. I mean, how do you respond to this? Even though Doyle is no longer with the organization, if you're in that locker room, what is your perspective on the situation? What is your perspective on Urban Meyer?
They're gonna. I don't know how honest they can be in front of everybody, but behind closed doors or in those meeting rooms, when the position coach ain't in there, you're gonna get some commentary about this guy because I'm telling y'all, he hasn't done anything in the league. Like, what has Urban Meyer done? Like, who are you to be hiring guys like this? Like, because that's the only way Chris Doyle gets in the league. Think about this. Cronyism is the only way he gets in. He was at Iowa because no one was going to say anything to him. And I think that when you look at a guy like Urban Meyer used to be the biggest voice in the room. What he says go, nobody going to say nothing. Urban Meyer is going to have players saying, man, what the hell kind of call is that? Coach, what? He ain't used to that. What are you doing? Because if I'm Josh Allen, I have a proven track record in this league. If I'm CJ Henderson, I have a proven track record in this league. If I'm Urban Meyer, I make a bunch of money to be the head coach. And I told y'all, when Shad Khan was going to start helping make decisions, Shad Khan was a part of that Chris Doyle. That's why he need to get the hell out the way too, because that's the kind of stuff that's going to happen. On the team, coach the team, and let the guys that's been there kind of show you the road. Because Urban Meyer, man, he ain't done nothing on this level yet. He a rookie too.
Well, like you said, Ben, I think Urban's had his own kind of deals going back to Florida, Ohio State. I had an assistant coach that he kind of stuck up for. Zach Smith, that had some allegations of wrongdoing, eventually led to him going off the staff. So,
well, I mean, Urban Meyer straight up lied. I mean, he said at media days that he had no awareness of any allegations, and then the reports came out. You had all the awareness of the allegations. So, I mean, he's lied about stuff like this in the past.
Urban Meyer, and the Jacksonville media, they're gonna have some fun with each other because their job is, I don't know.
But I don't know if they are, Ben, because I mean, it's been a honeymoon for a month. Once they hired Urban Meyer, you heard nothing about these stories. It was just, here we go. We got.
And think about that. They didn't want to.
Maybe there was. I'm not taking anything away from local Jacksonville media, but I mean, I don't feel like this was Jacksonville media pressuring them into getting Chris Doyle to resign. This was a national outcry as soon as this dude got a job.
That's what I'm saying. Think about this. Jacksonville is just trying to get back out of the dark ages. They the leading stories on news networks not named Sportsnet. They on CNN, MSNBC. The Jacksonville media was like, do we want to kind of ease our way in? But if we can do this, if you want to do this, this is what we do. And I think they should, Christian, because he needs to be held accountable. No more of this do as I say, not as I do. Don't ask me no questions. No, you a part of the big boy squad now. Unless you finna go to the school of journalism of Bill Belichick and you just know how to say a whole bunch of nothing, it's going to be a long year in Jacksonville for him.
Well, certainly. Hey, we've got more to come here on 3 and Out. We'll come back. We'll do something a little bit different, a new little game for us to stretch our minds and our brains and our heads when we come back. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back, 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop. Glad you're with us all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Wes Durham going to join us in about 30 minutes here on the show. Voice of the Falcons and co-host of Packer and Durham on the ACC Network. We'll talk some Braves baseball with Doc Herbert, the Platinum Sombrero podcast coming up in the final hour of the program as well. But we got a little something different. BJ and Ben have no clue what's about to happen. I really have very little clue of what's about to happen. So, Christian, lay it on us.
Sometimes when you're putting the show rundown together and you're trying to conceptualize fun segments and bits, you force it sometimes, right? And it's not funny. Sometimes it just strikes you and it just hits you right in the face that something needs to happen. Now, we don't have imaging for this yet because I don't know how much teeth this segment has, but I think it has hope. So we're going to try it out here. Introducing on 3 and Out. Is he a NASCAR driver, PGA Tour pro, or 19th century poet?
Pretty self-explanatory, I would think.
So I will give you a name, which I mean, Kevin, expert on NASCAR, Ben, clearly a PGA Tour expert, and obviously BJ is an expert on 19th century poets.
Yes.
So I feel like everybody should do a pretty decent job here. Now, you guys are competing against each other, but all of you will submit your answers at the same time. Cody will keep score.
Shall I compare thee to a summer's day?
Well, Kevin,
I have no idea who wrote that.
Kevin, you can't look me in the eyes when you say things like that. Sheesh. Wow. We know what Kevin was doing yesterday.
A rose by any other name is still a rose.
Okay. Listen, Kevin. Okay.
You might have a run for your money in terms of a 19th century poet expert.
I mean, he better know them poets. He better know them poets too. He over there reciting them. We're gonna need to get on the board, Kevin.
I have no idea.
All right. So our first name in, is he a NASCAR driver, PGA Tour pro, or 19th century poet?
All right.
Quinn Hoff.
That sounds like a poet.
I'm in.
Just let me know everybody's good.
It sounds like a poet.
Ben says poet. Kevin, you say?
A NASCAR driver.
BJ, you say?
I'm going to say golfer.
Kevin, you are correct.
Thank you.
Quinn Hoff came in 29th, driving the 00 car at the Daytona 500 last night.
Baller.
Yes, right. What about old Anthony Alfredo? Delicious on pasta.
Golfer. I'm going to go golfer.
Yeah, I'm going to say PGA Tour guys.
All right.
That sounds like a golfer. Yeah, that sounds like a golfer.
All three going golfers, huh?
Yeah.
All three of you are wrong. My man finishing 32nd at the Daytona 500 last night, driving the old 3.
PJ's like, you guys.
Come on.
PJ, is he a rookie? Okay, that's that.
Is he a rookie?
Yes, yeah.
Not a bad showing from the Sauce right there. I'm going to go and give him his nickname, Sauce. That's right. All right. Maverick McNeely.
That sounds made up.
No, see, you would think this would be a NASCAR driver, but I'm going to say this is a PGA Tour player. I'm going to stick with the golf until I get one right.
I know that dude wrote poetry. He's
Maverick
trying to sound hard. He's trying to.
I mean, his name is Maverick. Maverick either Maverick played baseball or golf. He did something. I mean, oh my God. I'm going to go with a golfer. I think Maverick is a golfer.
BJ and Ben, you are correct. He finished second at the AT&T Pro-Am this weekend.
Who finished first? Goose Johnson?
Second. That's right. Maverick McNeely.
Maverick and Goose.
Pro golfer here. All right, let's start going in rapid fire here. Thomas Hardy.
Poet, baby. Poet.
I mean, Thomas Hardy sounds like, Thomas Hardy, he sounds like a name. I'll go NASCAR.
We all said a different one, so
you said golf?
I said golf.
BJ, correct. My man's a poet. Old Thomas Hardy getting it done with the verbiage. What about Ryan Preece?
Ryan Preece?
NASCAR.
Yeah, I'll go NASCAR. He trying to.
Ben just said NASCAR because you guys are both pretty dang confident. Yeah, he's a NASCAR driver, finished 6th in the Daytona 500 last night. For those of you just joining us, we're playing a rousing game of is he a NASCAR driver, PGA Tour pro, or 19th century poet? All right. Now I got to do what I did to Cody, or I got to mess with you guys by changing my voice.
Was this guy's name like O'Shaughnessy?
Good old Cole Custa. Cole Custa.
Sounds like a condiment you put on a sandwich.
Golfer.
Cole Custer.
Poet.
Golfer. He's a NASCAR driver.
Ben.
Poet.
He is a NASCAR driver.
He is.
His name is
Cole Custer. Custer Motorsports. I don't know if that's actually.
I remember actually had a conversation.
Yeah.
I actually had a conversation with our own PJ Zuga. I was like, bro, there's a guy named Cole Custer out there driving. He's like, yeah. I was like, all right.
You're dang right there is. What about Matthew Neesmith?
NASCAR.
That sounds like golfer.
golfer.
He is a golfer. I threw you with the voice, BJ. Matthew Neesmith, and you're like, daggone it.
Isn't there a NASCAR driver, PJ, named Neesmith?
Neiman?
Joe Nemechek?
Neiman Marcus?
Ryan. Well, there's
Ryan Newman.
but that's a big stretch right there. But from Neesmith to Newman, I guess. All right. What about my boy Nate Lashley?
That's a poet.
Wasn't he the offensive coordinator at Auburn?
That was Rhett.
Uh-oh.
That was his brother.
That's Edgar Allan Poe's cousin.
If his brother was the offensive coordinator, at Auburn, he got to be a golfer.
Is it spelled Lashle? If it is,
It
I
is
believe
spelled the same as Rhett.
2 E's. That's a NASCAR driver.
PGA.
BJ also said golfer.
Oh, BJ said golfer.
No, I said poet. I said
poet?
Edgar Allan Poe's cousin.
Ben,
Okay.
nailed it. Nate Lashley finished 5th this weekend. Ben, I knew you were my PGA Tour guy.
Rich
What about John Whittier?
John Whittier. Hello. Mm-hmm.
That's a
This sounds like
golfer.
one designed to throw us off the scent.
John Whittier.
He either dropped an eagle on 17 or he wrote some poetry.
He can do both. He can do both.
Maybe.
He's a golfer that loves poetry. I'm gonna
go poet because you're just.
So you're going poet.
Yeah, you're trying to throw us off the scent. I think.
Ben,
by
you're
doing
going.
this.
Ben, you're going golfer. BJ,
Golf.
he's a poet. I knew. See, Kevin's an expert on poetry.
Yeah.
You guys just don't know it.
Like a
All right,
summer
what about my boy
breeze.
John Clare?
John Clare.
My boy John Clare.
Golfer.
He also wrote the lines of poetry.
Oh, so you're saying my man sticking there with poetry?
Yeah.
All right. Ben,
Poet.
he is a poet.
Yes, he is.
I remember that from
Yeah.
Come on, boys.
I don't remember that. I just guessed.
Nailed it there. All right. This is my homie. We hang out a lot. Bronson Burgoon.
Bronson Burgoon.
Bronson Burgoon.
That's a golfer.
His name is Bronson. Lord.
Bronson Burgoon.
Oh yeah, that guy's slapping some top flights. He's a golfer. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a golfer.
Everybody's going golfer?
Yes.
Damn, everybody knows Bronson. Bronson,
Yes.
PGA Tour pro.
Just,
All right. Henry Longfellow.
Henry Longfellow.
That's a poet. Come on, man.
yeah, that
Henry
guy.
Longfellow from Britain. Yeah, I'm gonna go poet.
All right, they're all correct, Cody. They nailed that one. All right. Is this guy whipping 200 miles an hour around a track, dropping pitching wedges within 1 foot, or is he writing bars? Robert Southey.
Robert Southey.
That's a golfer.
See, you trying to get me, man. Robert Southey.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
NASCAR. He probably finished last.
He probably did, but no, I'm gonna go with the golfer as well.
My man Robert just writing bars, poetry.
Oh man.
Poet.
See?
Robert Southey. All right. Good old Ross Chastain.
He's a wrestler.
Ross Chastain.
Oh man.
No, you try to do the voice thing, but I wonder if this is reverse psychology. So I'm going to say he's a NASCAR driver.
No, he is NASCAR driver.
Yeah, NASCAR.
He is a NASCAR driver. I like Ben's strategy. He just waits until you and
I'm trying.
I want y'all to let Ben answer this next one first. Okay? Christopher Bell.
Christopher Bell. He's in the new Batman. That's Christian Bell.
Oh, he's an old Batman. The new one's Robert.
I'm gonna.
Isn't this guy? Isn't that guy Winnie the Pooh's friend?
Christopher
That's
Robin.
Christopher Robin.
This is Christopher Bell.
Christopher Bell. I'm gonna. Give me NASCAR driver.
Kevin, BJ.
I'm going to say poet.
Yeah, he drives a NASCAR.
He does drive a NASCAR. Look at you, guys.
Kevin took the hat off. He's like, listen, when the hat come off, you know what it is.
Do I have tails? The hat comes off?
Oh, man. Love watching this guy hit 300-yard bombs while just wrecking out in NASCAR. Good old Cameron Tringale.
Was he driving some NASCAR heat?
Cameron Tringale.
That's a golfer. That's a golfer.
He's a golfer.
Tringale Motorsports.
He's a golfer. I mean, he.
You guys have just the PGA Tour thing like pulled up on your computers at this point?
What am I looking at?
You had this earlier. That's what I was worried about.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Sebastian Koppelin.
Oh, man.
Sebastian Koppelin.
Can you spell that? Use it in a sentence?
Yeah.
Plays golf, drives a NASCAR, writes poetry named Sebastian Koppelin.
That dude's a NASCAR driver.
Yeah. Sebastian wanted to do poetry, got bored with golf, and said, "Man, let's drive. Let's drive fast."
So he did poetry.
None of you are correct. My man's hitting bombs on the PGA Tour. Cody.
Okay. He didn't get bored.
Ooh, Kevin 11, Ben 10, BJ 7. Kevin
Dead
dominates
last.
another game here.
All right, to be fair, I'm uncomfortable with the scoring mechanism here because I do think
for a correct answer.
No, I don't like putting these guys in a box. I think you could be a poet while also potentially being a NASCAR driver or a golfer.
I checked the rule book and it said what you just said. It was filed under things losers say.
Cody,
end. We'll come back.
Play the pain sound for me.
Yes. That's the excuses you make.
So, Kevin, you can't be more than one thing. You can't be more than
come
one
back.
thing.
It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network.
Lonely, Mr. Lonely. No.
It is 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben. We'll hear from Wes Durham coming up at the top of next hour. We'll talk some ACC hoops and some football with him. Of course, Wes was on the call at the ACC championship, the ACC basketball tournament, when it got shut down, and that was kind of the start of all this, of the pandemic, as far as a lot of the sports were concerned. So almost a full year circle on that. And we'll talk to you about that, where the ACC hoops are now. Duke struggling, North Carolina kind of in the middle of the pack, but you got Virginia and Florida State playing tonight, 1 and 2 in the standings in the ACC. So we'll chat with Wes Durham about that coming up in just a little bit. But we just came off of Valentine's Day, BJ and Ben. This was a question we asked all of you on social media over the weekend. When did you fall in love with your favorite team?
Well, I'll say this for the Jacksonville Jaguars, because I think for a lot of people, I speak for, I think, an entire region of the country when I say, look, with your college team, you're kind of born into it. I mean, you're what your parents are. You're a little different. You're okay. Well, how'd you fall in love with the Gators?
Winning, just going there. No. I didn't have my college team growing up with Georgia Southern. That was the one that was closest in vicinity.
Oh, isn't that's a perfect? I mean, speaking of winning in Georgia Southern,
your favorite teams. It says your favorite team.
My
period.
favorite team.
Your singular favorite team. We don't have time to go through all 7 of your favorite teams. Listen, I really fell in love with Borussia Dortmund in 2009.
What is that?
Bundesliga.
Oh, my goodness. No, BJ, I would say for me, them piece up A-Town Down Falcons, like I said, I go back to my grandfather again. My grandfather let me know. He said, listen, I said, Granddaddy, like, what are we watching today? He looked at me. What? We watching the Falcons. And I said, he said, we don't like the Steelers. We don't like the Cowboys. You root for the, you listen. He said, we're not bandwagon. I'm a little kid. I'm like, I don't know what band, we root for them Falcons. I said, Granddaddy, if we don't root for them, are they going to be a bad team? He goes, they're probably going to be bad if we do root for them, grandson, but we root for them anyway. Then, finally, BJ, with all the root for them, finally made it to that Super Duper Bowl back in 99, and I said, let's do it. Then Eugene Robinson happened. He's not the reason why we lost. It's just controversial. We needed all the help we can get. We definitely needed our safety. But for me, BJ, it's just them A-Town Down Falcons, man. I know they had like Deion, all those guys, but we the Dirty Birds, man. We the reason why we the reason why celebrities on the sidelines now. MC Hammer and Vandy Holyfield. I'm just Whitney Houston. We had everybody on there. I used them A-Town, and that's why now it really, really bothers me that we act like we don't want to win this thing. Tampa Bay, what? New Orleans, who are they? Carolina, please. They couldn't even pick a city. You know what I'm saying? They had to just pick 2 states together. Carolina, lame. So I'm just saying, it's them A-Town Down boys for me. And Christian, it still hurt me to my heart. Because 28-3, man, we had our shot.
You're going to say that.
Oh, sorry. But BJ, you said Jacksonville, so as bad as it's been for me, whoop, I don't even want to know what it's been for you.
Yeah, but that wasn't how it was when it started. I mean, if because we have to fill time, I won't say Florida State because I was born into that. My dad went there, but I used to go down to training camp in Jacksonville when Mark Brunell played for the team, and James Stewart and Keenan McCardell and Jimmy Smith and Natron Means and Tony Baselli, and you think about all those names. Jacksonville was winning. They were competing for AFC championships, and
sweet all black uniforms, man.
Yeah, they look good. I have an old jersey. Like, this is one of the first issue, like Starter, I think, was the sponsor.
With the leopard print on there, or the Jaguar print on there.
Yeah, I got a signed teal Jacksonville Jaguars Mark Brunell jersey, and I remember being down there, like, hanging over the fence, at spring training. Ben, I don't know how many people you walked away from who wanted your autograph hanging over the fence.
I didn't do that.
At training camp, but when I was a kid, I got Mark Brunell's autograph. I still have that. So just kind of being in, middle school and being football obsessed and being down in Jacksonville, that was a lot of fun.
Kevo?
Mine's the Atlanta Braves. It's a lifelong seeming love. But when I say it was like the voice of the summer, like I have been a baseball fan ever since I can remember. And summer times we go stay with my granddad in the summer, and at night. Every night that they were on, without fail, that's what we were watching, the Braves every night. It was Sanford, his son, Andy Griffith, and Braves baseball, baby, like every night. So
what were those starting lineups looking like when you were falling in love?
Boy, you're talking about back in like the mid '80s. That was the Bob Horners, the Dale Murphys. I think you get a little closer to the late '80s. It was like Oda B. McDowell and Andres Thomas, Claudel Washington, Bruce Benedict. Yeah, they were. So we'd watch that every night, and then that's
those
what
were
we
not
did.
the good years.
No, they were bad, but they were. I mean, again,
you were not a bandwagon fan.
That was one of those things. I just I can vividly remember that as being part of my summers where we'd go stay for weeks at a time and we would watch Braves baseball. Even at home, we watched the Braves all the time. And that was back in the day where I distinctly remember going and sitting in the outfield at old Fulton County Stadium when we went on like a trip with like a group of kids, and we were the literally only ones in the entire outfield, the only ones watching the Braves play. It is 3 and Out, hour 2 here on this Monday. Glad you're with us all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, Ben Troop, BJ Bennett, thanks for being with us. We'll get to Take 3 coming up here in about 20 minutes. But first, joining us here on the program, big game tonight in the ACC, the voice of the Atlanta Falcons, a co-host of Packer and Durham on the ACC Network. Wes Durham joins us here on 3 and Out. Wes, good to talk to you. How are you?
You guys, hope you're well.
Hey, we're doing fantastic, and we were just talking before we brought you on. It was almost a year ago, about this time, where you were getting ready to do Florida State game at the ACC tournament when it was all shut down. And obviously, everybody knows what the last year has been like. Now that sports have been played in the ACC and football and all across college sports, college hoops, how do you think folks have adjusted to the way things are going here in 2020, 2021?
You know, I think it's been different for everybody. I mean, obviously, like tonight in Tallahassee, you'll see, about 2,500 fans, 2,700 fans that, Florida's got their attendance capacities, if you will. In the state of North Carolina, it's 7%. In the state of Georgia, it's about 8 to 10%, depending on the size of the building. I think that obviously you've seen places like Cameron, at Duke, which has been completely empty. I haven't done a game in an arena this year. Every game I've done has been remote. So from a basketball perspective, half my football was remote. So, I think it's been different for everybody. I think people are thankful to have the games, but to say it's been business as usual would be a far drastic understatement or overstatement, depending on your way of thinking.
And teams have had, postponements or games rescheduled. I know Florida State has had a couple of significant breaks. How have, I believe, 2 different 2-week times away from basketball impacted the Seminoles this year?
BJ, I think the first time they came back, they shot 71% and beat NC State like a drum. It wasn't like that Saturday against Wake Forest, obviously. They looked like they had gotten a little rusty in the pause, so it leads me to believe the first time they came back from the COVID pause was a bit of an outlier, to be honest with you. This last time was probably more along the lines of what many of us expected it to be. So I would say this, I think that every team is a little different. Clemson obviously went on pause with a positive test over the weekend after their Friday night game against Georgia Tech. They've come back one time already and got blasted by Virginia when they did. I think everybody's going to be a little different. Florida State probably a little more rusty than they wanted to be the other day. I think the key element tonight against Virginia is you got to learn to change speeds against Virginia. They like to play fast. They're much better offensively, I think. They're also still pretty decent on the defensive end of the floor. But Florida State's a talented team. 9, 10, 11 deep probably. Is where Leonard Hamilton's comfort level is. It'll be an interesting game tonight. I think the matchups in particular are going to be fascinating to watch because you got a 7-1 kid in Jay Huff who can play at distance. Florida State's got a lot of different bodies. It'll be intriguing to see kind of how those matchups fall, to be honest.
And Wes, obviously, you talking about the good teams in the ACC this year when you're talking about UVA and Florida State. But what has happened to the rest of the ACC this year? Duke, North Carolinas of the world just aren't playing well. Is it just one of those years to where, the ACC just isn't leading the way in college basketball? That Super League that we've grown to know and love just isn't clicking on all cylinders this year.
Ben, I think one thing about Carolina and Duke is Carolina and Duke are really no different than Kentucky. They're young by nature. Duke does not have, as much as everybody wants to puff up Jalen Johnson, he's a talented guy. He's not Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett, Cam Reddish, Marvin Bagley, Jaleel Okafor. Run down the laundry list, right? Even he's not even Cassius Stanley at this point from a year ago. I think that Jalen Johnson's a really good player, but he's got a long way to go. He would be totally and everybody tells me he's going to be a lottery pick, but lottery is that's exactly what it is with him. He's a potential player, but not a real player just yet. He's not nearly as packaged up as those other guys were. Carolina's been afflicted a little bit by their inability to knock shots down, and this is the second year in a row kind of that shooting has been an element piece for them. And I don't think it's that different. The other thing too, and the landscape of it this year is completely weird with the fact that not many teams played non-conference games, or not that many non-conference games. You also then had scenarios where teams, started late, didn't have practices the normal way. They didn't have an off season, things like that. So I think a little bit like football, there's some hit or miss going. But in the basketball sense, you're seeing Kansas, Kentucky, Carolina, Duke. I mean, real crafted historical teams of prominence in college basketball just kind of wade through the water a little bit here. I think Carolina's got a chance to get to the NCAA tournament. They still need a couple more wins. But I tell you this too, I think you've got some. I think you've got some schools that are tried and true. Duke's going to have a hard time making it. I mean, Duke beat NC State on Saturday, who lost their best player a couple of weeks ago. But on the whole, I tell you, Duke's going to have a fight on their hands to get there till the end, and need to make sure that they play all the games they have scheduled and hope nobody goes on pause against them either.
Wes Durham joining us here on 3 and Out. And Wes, you look right there in Atlanta, Josh Pastner's crew. Do they have a shot to should they be thinking postseason? It seems like when they play well, they can beat anybody, and when they don't, they don't shoot the ball well, and they kind of do some things that don't make sense. Are they thinking postseason NCAA tournament at this point, or they still have a lot of work to do?
I think they've got some wins. I mean, I think the win against Florida State at home, the win against Clemson at home helps. The thing Georgia Tech's lacking to me is a marquee road win. And I'm not telling you anything I didn't tell Coach Pastner earlier today when we talked. I think they've got the caliber of team to go to the NCAA tournament and perhaps win a game or two. But that all being said, you've got to do some work to get there. And again, they're like a lot of these teams. And to be honest with you guys, we're not getting a lot of leadership from the NCAA on, kind of how that committee's going to think about teams hypothetically that have played 17 games as opposed to teams that have played 21 or 22. The thing Georgia Tech has to worry about, Kevin, is they've got to win some games against teams that could be ticketed for the tournament. And there's just not that many left. Right now, they're hoping to play Virginia Tech. They're hoping to get some teams there that, that are probably going to go. And right now they've got a couple of wins, but they're home games. So how does the committee look at that? How does the committee look at the fact that, they played certain teams earlier at other times? I mean, it's going to be, they beat Kentucky when Kentucky was ranked. Well, now we know Kentucky to be another thing. So it'll be interesting to see, but Georgia Tech's well aware they need to win and continue to win, and maybe even throw a couple of logs on the fire when they get to Greensboro too.
Assuming we have a full NCAA tournament field, I mean, Wes, what number are we looking at potentially in terms of bids out of the ACC?
I think 6 is pretty solid right now, BJ. I think that beyond 6, it'll be very interesting as to see what happens in other places. And that deal on Saturday afternoon really did, when the committee released that, 16, if you will, that didn't do anything for anybody. I mean, they kind of measured like Houston was measured in a way that Virginia may not have been, but they had Missouri in it. And I think Conzo Martin's a good coach. I just don't think Missouri's a top 16 team. And I know what the rankings say, but I just don't think when you put them on paper against other teams that Missouri holds up that well. But I think 6 is probably a really safe number, potentially 7. But it's going to be interesting. I mean, again, we don't have a feel what's going to happen at this tournament. I mean, we're crazy to think that we're going to go through these conference tournament and nobody's going to test positive at the tournament, right? I mean, you guys understand that like I do, right? I mean, the percentages of us playing these conference tournaments and, hypothetically somebody, let's say Arkansas goes to the SEC in Nashville and all of a sudden they test positive and they don't get to play. Well, what does that mean? Because the NCAA is saying that you got to have 7 straight negatives from your tier 1 personnel in order to go to the NCAA tournament. Well, where does that leave Arkansas? Or let's use Missouri. We just talked about them a minute ago. What happens if they test positive? Or let's say Georgia Tech or somebody like that. I mean, what's the ramifications? And that's what I mean by we haven't gotten any guidelines from the NCAA as to what that's going to mean. And I think all this talk, to be honest with you guys, about teams opting out of their conference tournament, in the Power 5, I can tell you in the ACC, you can't do it. You have to make a fair competitive effort to play, and there are a lot of reasons why, unless you, for instance, sit out because of NCAA sanctions or whatever the case may be. The reason you can't do it is because there's some revenue involved in this. And the one thing we have learned during the pandemic is is that there is money involved. And that's one of the things that certainly affects the ACC and the rest of the Power Five too.
And Wes, how special is it going to be, winning it all this year? I mean, obviously, when you talk about all the different scenarios that got to go into it, you got the conference tournament, you got the NCAA tournament. You're trying to be able to, what's going to be the best practices and protocols. And as we know, I mean, this much moving around, you're going to have some positive tests. How special is it going to be when they do finally make it to the finish line in a season that, as Kevin mentioned last year, you was getting ready to be on the call, and this year, hopefully, we've learned a little bit more, and they will, make it to the end.
Ben, I got to be honest with you. I think when the NCAA tournament starts, I don't know how it's going to finish because, the one thing we're going to do is they're going to take everybody to the state of Indiana. And you guys have followed this, I'm sure, to a point where, the NCAA is doing everything but saying it's not a bubble, right? They don't want to use the word bubble because the bubble assumes their cost. And that's why, they're more than aware that the NBA paid about $160-some million to get the bubble in Orlando last year, right? And the NCAA is telling everybody they want these tests done. Just, for example, they're telling every school you got to have certain negative tests, but they're not telling you that they're paying for it. So if I guess your question, I don't know how we're going to finish it. I don't know what's going to transpire when somebody, tests positive. I'm curious to see how many teams, let's say and I'll just use examples here. They're going to name Selection Sunday a month from last night, right? So let's say they have Selection Sunday. Well, the tournament technically does not start until the next Friday, right? So what's going to happen between that Sunday and that Friday if somebody tests positive? Do they have they have a school on the waiting list? I mean, what are we going to do here? I think it's going to be really fascinating to watch and see kind of how some of this unfolds. Because if we don't think somebody's going to test positive in Indianapolis, we're kidding ourselves.
No doubt. Wes Durham joining us here on 3 and Out. And Wes, finally, we couldn't let you go without talking a little bit of football as you look ahead to the ACC. Notre Dame, they're out. But how do you see this football league shaping up heading into 2021, where they didn't win a bowl game and really had a tough go of it as a league? And do they expect it to kind of be normal operating procedure into 2021 with the vaccine rollout and all of those things that seem to be coming along?
Well, that's what they think right now, Kevin. I don't think there's any question that, everybody hopes to get back to normal next fall. In terms of the ACC, it's going to be a quarterback-strong league. You can look around the conference, and just about every school is going to return its starting quarterback. I mean, Miami's got De'Aaron King back. Florida State got Mackenzie Milton there. Jeff Sims comes back at Georgia Tech. DJ Uiagalelei is going to play at Clemson. We know that. Sam Howell at Carolina, so on and so forth. To me, the ACC and SEC are going to play the biggest non-conference game of the year in week one. I mean, I don't know how much bigger it's going to get than Clemson, Georgia this year. And they're going to play week one in Charlotte. And if the state of North Carolina will let Bank of America fill up, the commerce in the state will be over the top, because I'm quite sure that the face price on the ticket will be just a suggestion for what it'll cost you on the street. We're talking about a full house for that game, because Clemson and Georgia is a game that doesn't get played nearly enough, as you guys know. And now that they're going to play it in a place where they might split the tickets 50-50, I shudder to think at how many people will be trying to get to that game, because that is a huge game, the opening Saturday night of the college football season for sure.
No doubt. Wes Durham, our guest here on 3 and Out. Wes, always a pleasure. We'll talk soon. Thanks so much.
All right, guys. Be well.
Will do. Thank you much. Wes Durham joining us here on the 3 and Out, voice of the Atlanta Falcons. You catch him as co-host on Packer and Durham ACC Network there as well. We've got more to come. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you're with us. Live streaming, ESPNCoastal.com. Also live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube as well. Check us out on our YouTube channel at ESPN Coastal. Love to have you follow along the show there as well. We had Wes Durham on last segment. So, fellas, let's take 3 now here on 3 and Out. And we have football coming up this weekend. Believe it or not, we have FCS level football, and a lot of the conferences did not play in the fall. They are now playing in the spring. And so the SoCon, one of those leagues that's coming up this weekend, getting started. Everybody's got to have a SoCon team. So who are you rolling with out of the SoCon here as we work through the spring?
Well, if you're a fan of football in the state of Georgia, I think why not go with Mercer? Mercer right there in Macon, got a good team. Coach Drew Cronick in there, building the program up for the future. And an interesting note, if you followed Sunbelt football the last couple of years, Fred Payton, who was the starting quarterback at Coastal Carolina before Grayson McCall. So he was the starting quarterback, or at least a part-time starter for the Shots the last couple of years before this past season. And Georgia Southern fans, if you remember, when McCall was hurt against the Eagles, it was Fred Payton who scored 3 touchdowns, played that game against Georgia Southern in leading Coastal Carolina to victory. He is now with Mercer. So Mercer obviously recruits the state of Georgia pretty predominantly, has some guys from the 912, and if you followed Sunbelt football, has Fred Payton in from Coastal Carolina. So I think give the Bears a look. Should be a good team this spring.
I was going to go with them Mercer boys, but you know what? Listen, I mean, old homie of mine used to play for them Furman boys way back in the day. Them boys had a nice little, natural sign. They added 15 to the roster. Got a lot of guys coming back, and look to keep what they winning ways. I mean, I'm always partial to the Mercer boys. 1, because they're in Georgia. 2, because of them colors. But giving them boys from Furman, BJ, I can't like the color scheme. My goodness, but give me them young men from Furman. They got They want to stick to them winning ways this year. What? I can't like colors no more? Oh, goodness.
Did Mercer change the color scheme?
No. I said I like their color scheme. As soon as I said, Kevin, here go BJ. What? Orange is nice, especially when you pair it with black.
You got to roll with Chris Hatcher, and the same for Bulldogs, right? I'm a Chris Hatcher guy. That's a homer pick.
I'll roll with the homie Javante and the Citadel.
Go wrong.
Devontae plays cornerback now, right? He moved over to the cornerback.
DB, I think he might be hinting in his profile that he's wearing number 0 this year too.
Got to be nice if you're wearing that 0 now. Got to be nice, which he is.
There you go. Moving along. Take through this generated a lot of discussion in the pre-show, by the way, Christian. Which would be scarier as just an average person, getting in a wreck at the Daytona 500 or returning a kick in an NFL game? No touchbacks, by the way, so you can't cop out and say, I'm just going to take a knee.
Well, I mean, I'm not doing the driving thing. I mean, don't they drive at over 200 or how fast do they drive?
The point of the question, BJ, is you have to say which one's scarier.
All right, I'm asking a question so I can gather information. How fast do they drive, Kevin?
195 to 200, depending.
The average speed of the Daytona 500 is like 181 miles an hour.
Yeah, I normally don't go over 45 ever when I do drive. So I guess I'll go with the kickoff return. But I told Ben this and he didn't like it. If I'm returning a kick, and apparently Kevin said I can't run out of bounds. I know there are no touchbacks, but I can't run out of bounds.
I said we're talking about this on second down. I said the goal is you have to reach the 25.
Well, that's not physiologically possible. I can't reach the 25. It's not possible. Well, even if I run as fast as I can with my pumps on and everything and really get my arms going, I'm not reaching the 25. It's not physically possible.
That's because you don't listen to Ben's advice. You got to hit him with the pat, and then you're there.
I mean, I understand, but I'm gonna do
one of those gutters go
and I'm gonna crumble up before the hit. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of dive into the ground and just go into the fetal position before I get hit.
But no, you're not. No more. You're not gonna do that, BJ.
You got to make.
You can't. I mean,
I understand, but you keep saying I got to make it to the 25, dude. I could be in 3 sets of shoulder pads, have rocket boosters on my cleats. It's not happening. It's not possible.
You gotta have faith in yourself, BJ.
I have faith in science and reality.
No. For me, it is still returning the kick because BJ, you're gonna get hit. Listen, just put in your mind. This is football. This is not a contact sport, people. It is a collision sport. It is a train wreck waiting to happen on every single play. The difference, though, BJ, you on the track and you got 11 trains coming at you. Well, you really got 10 because the kicker, depending on.
These kickers are pretty yoked up now.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say it's because the thing is, think about it. Christian is saying make it to the 25. You got blockers, and the goal of the blocker is to kind of slow, the kickoff team down. They're not going to slow them down that much because that's their livelihood. So yeah, because the thing is, 181 miles. My goodness, I mean.
But here's my thought on it.
Because see, mine would be the scariest thing for an average person would be the kickoff as well. And here's why: because at least in a NASCAR, I'm in a roll cage with a Hans device and all that. And in football, I have a shut helmet and some floppy pads. That's about all I got, man. And that's not.
And no. This is the thing. No. And Christian knows this. In football, you can't hear anything. Like once the ball is kicked or snapped, you don't hear anything. So you got to catch the ball, and your worst nightmare is happening. Here it is. Everybody's watching me. And BJ, the special team coordinator says, we are running it out. What? We're bringing it out.
Did you always listen to your coach?
Special teams coach, yeah. I mean, because it's only one play. But as far as like, if I got like 50, 60 plays in a game, listen, coach, leave me alone. You don't like what I'm doing, get somebody else. No, I'm just saying, the thing about it is, though, your worst fears. I'm going to tell you how I know. Monday Night Football, we're playing Denver. Same game that Bo Skate was going crazy, and they kind of like Pooch kicked it up in the air. I'm like, I said, they kicked that kind of high. That's coming to me. And I said, you know what? Make a play for my team. They got that thing, man. Nobody, wham. And the thing is, this is what I remember. I remember this. I remember one of the guys looking at me going, saying, man, what the hell you doing? What the hell you thought you was fixing to do? I'm about to take it to the crib. Like, yeah. So BJ, because you want to see me get pain inflicted upon me, this is your moment, BJ. This is your moment for everybody who talk trash about, quote, that kick returner sucks. He can't even hit the hole. He stinks.
No, here's my thing with it. Hey, Kevin, I think you agree with me on this. I know I'm going to survive a NASCAR crash. Like Ryan Newman, what happened to him last year at the Daytona 500 where his car literally flew. Literally flew 200 yards in the air. Like, was in the air, 200 yards went under it,
as in not on the ground.
Landed, right? Going 200 miles an hour, flipping multiple times. He walked out of the hospital the next day. Walked out of the hospital, right? I don't think I'm surviving a kick return in the NFL. Like, I know I'm surviving a wreck in NASCAR just because, like you said, the roll cages, all the crazy stuff that they put in those cars to survive those type of wrecks. I don't know that I'm surviving getting smashed in the face by the undrafted rookie who's trying to prove a point. Like, I don't think I'm surviving that.
No,
you probably won't. You guys saw Patrick Mahomes get like folded up like a pretzel by Dominic Sue and Vita Vea, and they're right there.
Stronger than I am.
I mean, Christian, this is my thing though, Christian, because how your mind is, how you wired. Christian gonna try to hit that thing like Tim Dwight. BJ, remember how hard Tim Dwight used to get hit? This is the thing, BJ. I'm telling you, BJ's thinking, BJ, I know this is crazy. You gotta take some of these physics out of the game, all the math and all that.
Hey, here's all you need to know about the physics of football and NASCAR, right? NASCAR, they say, what, rubbing's racing? That's rubbing, right? You just get a little hit. You don't want to get a wreck. Ben, what did your coaches always tell you about who gets hurt in a hit? The person who doesn't hit harder. They're like, no, don't worry. It won't hurt if you hit them harder. That's football physics.
It is. And the thing is, it is football. The thing is,
if you hit them harder, it won't hurt you.
And BJ, this is crazy because BJ keeps saying, you're looking at how big you are, or not how big you are, and how big these other guys are. This is the crazy part. If you run as fast as you can, you have a 0.01% chance of coming out of that. Like, you might come out, but if you already put it in your mind, I'm going down. It's gonna be bad. All I'm saying is, BJ
might just turn into dust.
I mean, look, all I know is this. when the whole crowd goes, woo, you don't want to be on the other side of that. But if I say, BJ, how many fingers? He goes, dude, that's kind of ostentatious. He's fine. You saying words like ostentatious? He's fine.
Cody said BJ would pop apart like a Lego character.
Oh, but that story would get better and better as the years went on. Like, yeah, well, you see what they had on kickoff. They had Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Troy Polamalu. They had an all-star team running down and hit me. But BJ, I would want to see you do it, BJ. Christian, to get you right.
No, y'all keep talking about how the person that I guess runs harder delivers the blow. That's under the scientific assumption that the two bodies are at least relatively similar in structure and in athletic ability. The inertia has to be
within. Saying how absurd that formula that they said was. We agree with you.
Yeah. Well, Christian, you missed it. In the show meeting, they were all telling me, oh, no, man, the only way to survive it is to run as fast as you can. And I'm saying, you guys don't understand physics. Like, that's if they are comparable bodies.
Maybe we do understand physics, and we just want to see the collision.
Well, why? So I won't be on the show? I miss one show every 2 weeks anyway.
No. BJ, I'm just saying this. You got a shot to really make this thing happen.
I don't care. I don't want to be successful in sports. I don't care.
So what you rather do? So what's more scary, running the kickoff or tackling Derrick Henry like one-on-one?
I'd rather take a bath.
You gonna take a long hot bath? You probably gonna remember. You don't remember. Somebody put you in there. But I'm just saying, it's going to be bad. Not because of his football, because you always talking trash, and that's the karma coming out. Because I'm going to be on the kickoff. Like, move, and I'm going to pay the guy blocking me to not block me. I said, listen, I'm going to physically knock myself out to not be jacked. So,
all right, moving on. Take 3. Are you missing the XFL right now?
No.
Wow. That's it?
Well, Christian wants me to have more succinct answers. No, man. Look, if it's on.
Last year, everybody was on the XFL train.
I miss it.
If it's on, I'll watch it. But there are a lot of things like when I go to Netflix every night, I don't have like a preconceived notion of what I want to watch.
You've already seen everything.
But every now and then they refresh some of the titles. If there's some new stuff there, I'll watch it. But it's not like I'm going to miss it if it's not there. No, I don't miss the XFL. But if it was on, I would check it out.
Yes, I do miss it because I miss coming in and Christian saying, would you guys cut that out, please? Like, would you guys stop that? We're not comparing it. We're not comparing it to nothing else. It is the XFL for me. Johnny Manziel is in an arena league yesterday. Johnny Manziel, they're like, Johnny football is back. Johnny Manziel might have passed for 11 yards, and they going crazy. Like he's really so. And BJ said something that I hope every current athlete or former athlete need to get out of their mind. This notion of you're too good for a league. Nonsense. You're not too good for any league. Any league. Somebody calls your phone and say you get paid to play football. Get your behind up and let's go. Not, well, man, I'm waiting on the Bengals to hit me up. Have they hit you up yet? Nope. Has your phone number changed? No, they're not going to call you. And it's okay. Stop with the BJ Bennett mentality. Okay? Get your behind up. But yes, I do miss the XFL because I just miss football. I'm just saying, Kevin was watching, the Chinese league and he can't even pronounce their name 3 o'clock in the morning. That's how bad it had got for Kevin. We need football.
I miss the XFL because I was, I thought it had some cool parts to it, some innovative things it was doing. And, the fans that were there seemed to be into it. And I think as the season was going on, the football was getting a little better as well. And it was a shame it had to end when it did. But the Rock's bringing it back. So
come on.
Let's apparently we have a phone call. Let's go to Brock, who's on line 1. Brock, what say you?
Hey, I wanted to ask the big tight end, Ben, who he feared the most when he knew he was getting the ball, who he had to pick around, who he feared the most, or not feared, but didn't want to take a hit from back in his days.
Ben, can I put in a guess?
Huh?
Ben, can I guess?
Go ahead.
Bob Sanders.
No. I feared everybody.
No,
Bob, I feared everybody. I didn't want to get hit by nobody. Bob Sanders hit both skates so hard that he lacerated his spleen. I don't even know what your spleen is. I just know it's in your stomach, I think, because so that's what I had to do. Hey, Ben, you got to go in because both skates just got his spleen lacerated. All right, coach, call the same play.
We're not going to break till you answer this question. There had to be one guy where you're like, please don't hang it up over the middle and make me go get that because I don't want.
It was one dude because of how he played and what he never said, and that was Troy Polamalu. Troy Polamalu sound like this on the field when it comes down to talking. He says nothing. But listen, he hit me so hard one time. This all he said. It's the only thing I've ever heard him say. He actually goes across the middle. Boom, 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 boom. My little towel falls on the ground. He goes, in truth, you might not want to use it on your face. It got grass on it. And he walked off. That's it. He's never said anything else. But yes, listen, Corral Polamalu, the guy with the long hair.
Yeah,
I feared him, man, because he's such a great player, but he don't say nothing. Oh, I'm sorry. And a number 2, if I had a 1B, and he walked, Brian Dawkins. Listen, I don't know what side of my chin it was on, but it was this big. It was because he hit me right here. And when I said something to him, he said, "Hallelujah! Thank you, Jesus." I'm like, what's wrong with you? Hey, so Brian Dawkins and Troy Polamalu. So them Bob Sanders, I mean, he cool, but them two dudes there, get out of here, man. Get out of here.
That's take 3. We do it each every day. It's not, I thought he might say Ray Lewis for Barkley.
No. Ray Lewis, I mean, he can hit you hard, but he's like 5 yards away from me. This other guy coming from 10, 15 yards deep. They finna hit something. No, don't hit BJ. Don't hit me.
We'll come back with more 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben, glad you are with us all across the network and on Facebook and Twitter at Pigskin Radio, on YouTube as well. You can follow along on the shows. We live stream to YouTube. Catch the archive version of the show there at ESPN Coastal on YouTube today. President's Day out there as well. And, of course, what better monument, I guess, out there that we like to correlate the sports than the Mount Rushmore. And who are the top guys in sports on the Mount Rushmore? We got 3 separate. We're going to put out there. Want your Mount Rushmore? Mount Rushmore is 4. I just want to make sure we're all clear on that in case you're not up on your history, geography. There's 4. Braves, Mount Rushmore, Falcons, and SEC quarterbacks we're going to do today. Let's start with the Braves. Who's on your Mount Rushmore of the Atlanta Braves?
Hank Aaron. I mean, that's inarguable. The legend, the late Hank Aaron. I would say Chipper Jones, Bobby Cox, Greg Maddux.
Do I even got to say my list? I mean, I thought you said somebody different in our pre-show, but me, Bobby Cox, obviously, that mentality. Hank Aaron, legend. Then you got that beast, Chipper Jones, and BJ. I need a guy known for 2 different things. Man, listen, I could be a starter and a closer, man. John Smokes, give me John Smokes, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, Ben nailed it. That was mine. Hank Aaron, Chipper, Bobby Cox, and John Smoltz on it for me. Greg Maddux very close on my list. Dale Murphy very close.
Why not Glavine over Smoltz?
I went with Smoltz because, again, I think, as Ben said, to me, he's starter, closer, and even more so than I think Tom Glavine, who was like the player rep for. To me, like John Smoltz always carried like the energy of the team. While he was one of the big 3, I don't know. That was just the way I kind of felt it.
Follow up. Can anybody ever get on there, like knock somebody else off, i.e. a Freddie Freeman?
Yeah, win a World Series, and that'd go a long way. I'm just saying.
Whoa!
Well, I'm just saying.
Sorry, it's got really
Freddie.
Well, you're asking how can they get on there? Well, how are you going to supplant those guys? Win a World Series. Well, Hank's never getting MVP supplanted, so I mean, he's already on there. One of those spots you can go ahead and chisel in granted. He ain't getting off of there. The rest of them, you're gonna have to do something to remove one of them. You're gonna have to win it, be the catalyst to win a World Series or 2, and I think that could happen. I don't think I was being outlandish by saying that.
Nope.
Apparently, I was being salty. I don't know.
No, I mean, there was nothing wrong with it. It was just spicy.
Was it? I mean, you're talking about replacing the all-time greats.
The delivery was spicy.
Okay, that's why.
Like a John Smoltz fastball.
That's the way I live. It's just all spice all the time. But moving on. So there's our Atlanta Braves. What about the Atlanta Falcons all time?
Yeah, a couple of different ways you could go here. I think I'm going to go Tommy Nobis, Prime, Vic, and Matt Ryan. I think those would be my 4. Tommy Nobis, Prime, Mike Vick, and Matt Ryan.
Listen, man. I mean, I need an original, a guy that really got everybody going crazy. Give me Jamal Anderson. I mean, had the whole world doing the Dirty Bird. I mean, a guy like Matty Ice. I mean, took quarterback into another level. Julio Jones, a real beast. Like when people say the word beast, and you got to have somebody who box office. That's Michael Vick. I ain't seen nobody that big, that box office type player since Michael Vick. So give me Vick, Julio, Matty Ice, and the Dirty Bird himself, Jamal Anderson.
I was going to say, when you start looking at like the pantheon of doing the Mount Rushmore, there's not a lot to choose from on the history of the Falcons.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
I'm just saying.
Daggum.
I mean, okay. No, this will set it all apart right here. Who is their best coach? You'll probably say Dan Reeves, and after that, where would you go? Like,
but dude, I mean,
Jones, baby, get after it.
Ben didn't have Tommy Nobis. I didn't have Julio Jones. You got Steve Barkowski. You got William Andrews. You got Claude Humphrey. You got.
That's saying all I need to be said.
You have Warwick Dunn. You got
Warwick Dunn. You got
Abraham, Patrick Kearney,
Keith Brooking.
I think you guys are making my argument for me that there's.
Price.
I mean, when you're talking about the Mount Rushmore of a franchise, we are talking about some guys that were good.
I think that's fair.
But, I mean, are you talking about guys that are being?
Okay, all right, hold on. Some guys that are good. my 4, you had Tommy Nobis, who's known as Mr. Falcon, who
I'm not
because he's known as
I'm
Mr.
not
Falcon
talking
because he was the first player drafted.
And I'm
by
not
the
talking
Falcons.
about your list in specific. I'm
no,
saying
he's known as Mr. Falcon because he's an iconic player. Then I have Mike Vick, who might be the most electrifying player ever. Then I have a guy with an MVP in Matt Ryan, and I have a guy who's the unquestioned best player without argument all time at his position. I mean, good grief.
Yeah, I see. My point.
I'm
though,
not
as an
having an
Atlanta fan,
argument with your player. I'm saying that for the pool, it's not very deep.
My point as an Atlanta fan with Dion is I don't know that he played a big enough portion of his career in Atlanta to be on the Mount Rushmore. I'm sorry, but he went to a division rival with the 49ers and consistently beat on the Falcons. So Dion's not on my Mount Rushmore for the Falcons. I understand why he's on your Mount Rushmore, BJ, because he literally doesn't have to play for a team to be on your Mount Rushmore for certain things. But to me, it's Matt Ryan and Julio are definitely on there. I hear arguments for Tommy Nobis because he is Mr. Falcon, but I'm putting Warrick Dunn on there. Not just because of what he did on the field, but because of what he did off the field as well. Walter Payton, Man of the Year. And then definitely none of the coaches. I don't know if we put owners on there because, I mean, Arthur Smith, what he's tried to do for the franchise has been
Arthur Blank,
excuse me, has been pretty phenomenal. Arthur Smith ain't there yet. Maybe in the future, hopefully in the future.
We'll see.
Maybe. But I guess you got to put a defensive guy on there, right? There haven't been a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, and again,
a whole lot of success on that side of the ball.
My 4, I had, and I kind of looked at Dion in the same light that you did, Christian, where it's like Dion was good. It was really good in Atlanta, but then he also went on to do like awesome things. And I think Dion on the Falcons is kind of also indicative that they haven't had a lot of great players to knock him off that list as far as that goes. So mine would be Vic, Ryan, because I think they're clearly the 2 best quarterbacks you've had. Jesse Tuggle, because of the longevity there, and Julio Jones would be my 4. Do we want to get into the SEC quarterbacks? We do not have time. We don't have time. We will come back. We'll take a break. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Welcome back. It's 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop. Glad you were with us all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. A lot to get to still to come in the final hour of the program. We'll look at the SEC quarterback situation as we see it going into to 2021, and look at the 14 guys that are set to lead their programs here in 2021. Also talk a little Braves baseball with Doc Herbert as the pitchers and catchers set to report on Thursday for the Atlanta Braves. So a lot to get to coming up in the final hour of the program, fellas.
Real quick,
go ahead.
I was going to say, I'll squeeze it in here. My 4 SEC quarterbacks from Mount Rushmore would be Cam, Joe Burrow, Tua, and Tebow.
You see what he's doing? He's trying to get in here when we only have 30 seconds left, so nobody can argue with any of his
there
stuff.
You go.
That's sneaky, BJ. Sneaky. And I would say 2 of those guys shouldn't be on there.
Oh. I'm looking forward to it, though. You want me to squeeze mine in real fast? No, I'm going to wait. I'm going to do it the right way. Want me to squeeze them in?
Do it. You're wasting time.
Tebow, Cam, Burrow, and Johnny Football. You got to have Johnny Football in there.
Johnny Football can't be on there. He never won anything.
Oh, he won a Heisman.
Is that a team sport?
Yes.
It took the team to get it to him.
We'll get back final hour right around the corner. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. We're streaming live at ESPNCoastal.com. Good to have you along 3 and Out here on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Final hour of the show. Again, streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com, live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube as well. You can check us out on YouTube at ESPN Coastal. And glad to have you a part of the show here on this Monday. We'll get to our SEC quarterbacks as we see them here in 2021. Doc Herbert, final hour, going to join us. The Platinum Sombrero podcast. We're talking Braves baseball with him. What are some of the moves the Braves are looking to make? They signed Jason Kipnis, former Cleveland Indian, to a minor league deal today, but I think fans want a little bit more from the Braves as far as shoring up their bench and maybe that bullpen. We'll talk to Doc Herbert about that coming up in just a little bit. But earlier today, Gus Malzahn is back. He was unemployed for all of about a month and a half, and he is back with Central Florida and the Golden Knights. I saw him get knighted at the press conference as the new head football coach. Does Central Florida now have the best coach in the state of Florida?
I can't say that. I think they have a really, really good coach. And if you want to tell me they have the second best coach, yeah, I'm down. I mean, Mike Norvell, great at Memphis, still has a lot to prove at Florida State. Manny Diaz at Miami's been hot and cold, has had some really good years. But in terms of the overall resume, I'm not sure he has what Gus Malzahn has. I love this hire for UCF. And I think UCF has done a really good job of filling vacancies. When you think about the coaches they've had be picked by other schools, Josh Heupel obviously going to Tennessee. I do think that's a good hire for the Vols. I actually thought initially when Tennessee opened up, Malzahn might have been their number one target. That didn't come to fruition for whatever reason. But if you're UCF, you have a program that's gone 40-8 in its last 48 games. You have a program that has a recent national championship, which is recognized by the NCAA. You have a program that has one of the best quarterbacks in the country.
Recognized by the NCAA. Actually, we did fact check that it is not.
Well, I'll have to fact check that fact check because I've seen it as a recognized championship of the NCAA. But you have one of the nation's best quarterbacks in Dylan Gabriel, and now you have a head coach that has won an SEC championship and has been a play away from a BCS national championship. So I think this affirms Central Florida's standing as one of the major players all around the country. Absolutely.
Gus Malzahn definitely boosts the reputation of any school he's at, so definitely UCF got a great hire with Gus Malzahn. Gus Malzahn also knows that he's in the breeding ground for high school football when you talk about some of the best players in the country, if not the best players in the country. So, yeah, I mean, great job by UCF. You got a team that definitely BJ's made a lot of noise. You're talking 40-8, and they in the last 4 years got teams like Auburn on their resume, almost, took a great effort by LSU to beat those guys the year after. But I do agree that when you talk about recruiting, the one thing that still works, that works for me 21 years ago, is recognizable names. These coaches. Gus Malzahn walks in your living room, he comes with instant credibility. He comes with a guy that's played in a real national championship. I mean, I don't know what this national championship is. Because that's the thing too, BJ. I mean, if this happens again, UCF goes undefeated again, and they're not going to be one of the last 4 teams that's already been proven. Do he allow something like we're going to do a national championship parade through the streets of Orlando?
But I mean, going back to that, and Kevin, if you guys saw something else, I'll give it to you. But this from the Orlando Sentinel: UCF was officially listed among college football national champions in the 2018 NCAA record book. I think UCF did what they had to do in a set of circumstances that were restrictive and limiting. Do I think if they go undefeated again, Gus Malzahn will say we're the national champions? Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, but the thing, BJ, you always talk about, quote, what is or isn't embarrassing, or is or isn't beneath you, whatever. It's easy compared to me. Somebody that gave me a head coaching job, it just happened to be UCF. My UCF Knights just went undefeated. If I say we're national champions, you're not calling my phone saying, what are you talking about?
Depends on my perspective. If I'm Gus Malzahn and I'm the head coach at Auburn, I'm absolutely saying, oh man, this is a joke. But again, we see perspectives change as circumstances change. And again, the NCAA, I'm not saying it is considered the preeminent national championships, but if you want to go back throughout history, Ben, historians argue over how many championships Notre Dame might have, how many championships Alabama might have, how many championships Ohio State might have. There are disputed national championships all throughout history. If you're UCF, you have to look at it in 2017 as we went undefeated. We beat Auburn in the Sugar Bowl. We played in a New Year's Six bowl game and won. We beat everybody we could. The system does not allow us to compete for a national championship. From my seat, I have no problem with them claiming one.
So Tommy Tuberville should go back to the NCAA and say in 2004, my Auburn Tigers went undefeated. But we did not play in the national championship. Or BJ, the team you root for. So do you consider UCF's national championship on the same level as Florida State's in 2013?
No.
So that means it's not it. That means it's not it. Like I get a good gesture type thing. I get a great good feel. Again,
I never said that it was the undisputed national championship. Hold on. Kevin, what data did you guys have? Because I'm looking at the NCAA.
We're seeing it, and I think we're getting the same statement that you are. Basically, they are in the record book because the Coley Matrix said they were the national championship. They got one of the computer rankings to say that they were.
Well, yeah, it is a recognized national championship by the NCAA. That's what I said.
So who actually won the national championship the same year UCF did?
Alabama.
So Alabama won the national championship and UCF won the national championship.
But again, all throughout history, you have disputed national championships. Georgia Tech in 1990 thinks they won a national championship. Colorado thinks they won it.
Yeah, but it was nationally recognized. Like two things can be true at the same time. Like if somebody, like we play basketball, somebody go, hey man, we made it to the tournament. Which tournament? Huh? Oh, we made it to the NIT. Uh-huh.
Well, okay. I do know this, Ben. I'll just say this on UCF's behalf. They've gone undefeated before.
Well, some teams don't have to go undefeated.
That's why I would say if you're talking about who's the best coach in the state of Florida, I mean, Gus Malzahn has been to a national championship game before as a head coach.
No, yeah. I can't say that, and here's why. Because I look at how you elevate your status quo, and I look at what Dan Mullen has done. To me, Dan Mullen is one of the truly elite coaches in all of college football. To me, Gus Malzahn did a good job at Auburn. Auburn's career winning percentage as a program is 63%. Gus Malzahn won 66% of his games. So he was a good, above average to good coach at Auburn, at a program that traditionally has pretty good success. Mississippi State has won 49.2% of its games all time. Mullen won 60% of his games in Starkville. So Dan Mullen, with his success boosting that 49% to what it is, still was 10% plus better than the historical mean. At Florida, Florida historically has won 63.2% of its games. Dan Mullen has won 76.3% of his games. So Dan Mullen has an 11% positive win rate at Mississippi State and a 13% positive win rate at Florida, whereas Gus Malzahn had a 3% positive win rate at Auburn. So to me, I think the metrics and the numbers point to Dan Mullen absolutely challenging and changing the status quo. And a lot of people forget this. The number one team in the inaugural college football playoff poll, Mississippi State. I don't think Mississippi State has been number one in the country many times without Dan Mullen.
After that happened?
What's that?
What happened after they were number one?
Well, I mean, they did what a lot of teams do. I mean, what about the numbers I just provided did you not like?
I mean, I appreciate that. I do. I appreciate you quoting that. I mean, I think Florida, when you say the historical mean at Florida, I mean, there was a lot of teams in the 80s and 90s bringing that down, as far as the overall 70s and 80s, bringing that winning percentage down for the University of Florida. And again, I just look at it from a standpoint of Gus Malzahn went to a national championship game. I don't care what school you're at, according to the mean. That's hard to do. Auburn's not exactly knocking on the door every year of national championship games. And he went there with a guy who played defensive back.
No, but you just said Auburn's not exactly there every year. They were literally there 3 years before, and they won it.
Okay, and have they been back since Dan Mullen took them there?
Well, their head coach has been Gus Malzahn, so that would be an indictment of the guy you're trying to praise.
All right, that's fine. We're going to agree to disagree, and that's fine.
Listen. I love the healthy, banter back and forth. But this thing, We'll just get the settlers when UCF play. That's right. UCF's not going to play Florida because they didn't want to agree to a neutral site. So USF will get to see them Gators come to Tampa.
I mean, Ben, do you think Gus Malzahn's a better coach than Dan Mullen?
No. I think Gus Malzahn he's a good coach. I don't think he's better than Dan Mullen. And this is why. Gus Malzahn is at UCF because of what didn't happen in Auburn. Dan Mullen is at Florida because of what did happen at Mississippi State. So I'm just saying, it's just I think both of them are gonna be good, but I do wish that UCF was playing Florida this year. But Scott Strickland and the old AD just couldn't, come to an agreement. That's why Florida's going to Tampa.
No, I think Gus Malzahn's a very good coach, but Dan Mullen's a great coach. I mean, Dan Mullen, at the 2 spots he's been a head coach, he has increased their historical winning percentage by over 10% at both spots. I don't know that many coaches have done that, maybe outside of Nick Saban in the history of college football. I mean, that's really impressive. I think Dan Mullen's elite.
Now he got to get to a national championship and win that thing because, the thing about it is Gus Malzahn is a really, really good coach. I ain't taking nothing away from him. When you start splitting it, like somebody said, who you think a better coach out of Dan Mullen and Coach Orgeron? A lot of people say Dan Mullen. Yeah, but Coach O got a season for decades, for the ages. So it's always gonna be that catch-22, BJ. You got to win when you put that great team together. You got to find a way to win. But going to a natty with a guy who played DB, that's pretty impressive too.
We've got more to come here on 3 and Out. We'll come back. We'll keep talking some SEC football. Look at the quarterbacks that we're going to see here in 2014. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigs, or 2021. Excuse me. It's 3 and Out on the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin Thomas, BJ Bennett, Ben Troop. Glad you're with us here on this Monday. We'll hear from Doc Herbert, Platinum Sombrero Podcast. Talk a little Braves baseball coming up in 15 minutes or so here on the program. But obviously, we were just talking coaching and quarterbacks. Or last hour, we were talking some quarterbacks in the SEC. What are we looking at here in 2021? BJ, as the league's going to lose, obviously, a number of guys moving along to the next level. What does the league look like in terms of signal callers here 2021?
A lot of turnover. And look, it's the SEC. I mean, nobody recruits like the SEC. The talent is obviously off the charts. But in terms of experience, you have some unproven guys. You have some guys that are still looking to, I guess, realize their full potential. I'll give you my list. Ben, you have a list too, right, Kevin? 1 through 14. I'll give you. I think the clear number one is Matt Corral at Ole Miss. I mean, what he did last year with the passing production, the rushing production. I have a story up on him on Southern Pigskin right now. You had 2 quarterbacks last year, or excuse me, you had 10 quarterbacks last year have games where they had a quarterback rating of 250 or more. 2 of them belong to Matt Corral. He can be fantasy football video game type good. If he can cut down on a couple of the interceptions, he might be your Heisman Trophy winner in 2021. I have JT Daniels, number 2. Dog fans, you have to like what you saw out of him at the end of last season. You still want to see it over the duration, and I think the challenge, Ben, for Daniels is going to be, can you do it against the elite defenses? He did not have to face consistently dominant defenses like you do in a full SEC schedule traditionally last season. He will this season, and obviously has Clemson right out of the gate. I got Bryce Young out of Alabama 3. We haven't seen a lot of him. He's a 5-star. He's been groomed by Alabama. He'll be fine. He's going to be elite. I like what I saw out of Max Johnson from LSU. For me, he comes in at 4. Connor Bazelak quietly had a really good true freshman season for Missouri. I have him at 5. I got to bump Bo Nix down to 6, and you would think with his experience, 2 years of starting experience, he would be higher. I still like what he has on his resume in terms of some of the big wins, but man, his proficiency totals really dropped last year, and maybe Mike Bobo can help with that, but I'll put him at 6. Emory Jones for me at 7. Love the potential of this young man. Smooth. Obviously, his ability in the running game will be more pronounced than what we saw out of Kyle Trask or Felipe Franks for Dan Mullen. And I think he's got a nice downfield throwing motion too. Will Rogers out of Mississippi State, 8. Had some good games last year. Is going to need to fine tune it. KJ Jefferson, remember that name at Arkansas. I have him at 9. Hendon Hooker, I'll count as Tennessee's quarterback. I'll bring him in at 10. Haynes King, kind of an unknown at Texas A&M. Could be 1 or 2 guys there, but I think King might be the front runner. I'll have him at 10. Ken Seals for me at Vanderbilt, or I'll have him at 11. Excuse me. Ken Seals for me at Vanderbilt. I'll put it 12. I know he did not have a great year, but did throw 12 touchdown passes. Joey Gatewood at Kentucky, 13, and Luke Doty at 14 for South Carolina. A lot of questions there. And again, these are spring projections. When you look at Tennessee, it could be Harrison Bailey. When you look at Texas A&M, it could be Zach Calzada. So there are a couple of unsettled, even Miles Brennan at LSU. But needless to say, in terms of proven production guys, this is not the preseason list we had a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, I got Matt Corral at the top as well. BJ, 384.3 yards a game, 10.2 yards an attempt. I do agree if he can cut down, on the interceptions, and 2, if people don't figure out that Lane Kiffin offense, I don't know what happened from year 1 to year 2. These defenses seem to catch up, and Matt Corral's box office. I think number 2, I'm going to go with Bryce Young. I mean, I remember when Bryce Young, came out, BJ. I mean, he was a guy that's definitely, they were going to get back to throwing the football. He's going to have more of a balanced attack. And they just had the greatest recruiting class in Alabama history. He's going to benefit from that. My number 3 is Miles Brennan / Max Johnson. Miles Brennan, before he got hurt, took care of the football about as good as you can do. But then you saw how well Max Johnson played. My Gators last year, BJ, it's going to be whoever comes out of spring. My number 4 is JT Daniels. He get a full workload. He's going to need the running game. He's not going to be able to beat teams just pushing the ball down the field. But it's as good as advertised. His debut was about as good as it get. I'm looking forward to seeing JT. My number 5, BJ, is Bo Nix. This is why they're gonna run the football. It's gonna be half, Coach Hards and half Coach Bobo. They're gonna have to reel Bo Nix in. I think by having somebody that's gonna coach him hard, it's gonna make him a better player. My number 6 is Emory Jones, dual threat. He's gonna have to have the running game. He's not going to benefit the last 2 years with Kyle Trask and Felipe Franks. He's going to have a running game. And if he does, he is the guy who Dan Mullen actually recruited. Dan Mullen didn't recruit Trask. Dan Mullen didn't recruit Felipe Franks. He's the guy. We'll see if he's ready. My number 7 is Harrison Bailey. And Hendon Hooker, BJ, I don't know who's gonna come out of that. I give Hendon Hooker the nod, but that Tennessee offense, they're gonna need a lot of help. I don't know how much help is gonna get around him. Will Rogers of Mississippi State. The air raid just wasn't there. And a big reason why is this. Why don't they run the football? Most of the passes are 5 and 6 yards. So the passing game is like an extension of the run game. They're gonna have to get more down the field. My number 9 is how you say the last name, BJ? Connor. I don't want to say it.
Bazelak,
Mizzou. Now this thing, BJ. I mean, 4 touchdowns against LSU, and they pulled the upset. Only problem is he only had 3 touchdowns in the next 7 games. Got to work on that consistency. I do give him a lot of credit because you're trying to figure out that offense, but I think if they can get more balance, they'll be good. Haynes King from Texas A&M, not much tape. Is he ready to be a star? He's going to have to start, BJ, in an offense that's going to have a lot of weapons, definitely at the tight end position. KJ Jefferson is my number 11 in Arkansas, 306 yards, 4 touchdowns against a shootout against Mizzou. But once again, stepping in some big shoes left by Felipe Franks. Joey Gatewood and Boo Allen, no more Wildcat for the Wildcats. That's out the window. You're going to have to play the quarterback position at a high level. They get, I think, Liam Cohen. I think he was with the Rams the last 3 years. You see they go on that route of getting NFL coaches to come back to kind of get these guys to play well. My number 13 is Luke Doty, out of USC, top 100 overall prospect. But that's going to be a big hill to climb, though. South Carolina is going to be rough, and I'm sorry, Ken Seals. You at Vanderbilt, it's going to be a daunting task, not because of you, but because of what's around you or lack thereof. But I'm wishing the best for that young man. I hope he's able to play in every game this year. I'm just saying, I got to be. It's not. I like Ken, but Vanderbilt, man, BJ, it's going to be rough.
Steve, hold on. Let me speak for Christian. If he's not in the studio anymore, and I don't think he is because I haven't heard his shrills and shrieks. You have JT Daniels 4?
I do. I think I give him credit. This is why, BJ. I mean, Georgia and Florida, literally, even though Florida was worse, had no run game. Georgia had no run game. That's why those games was close, definitely in the Peach Bowl, because you can't run it. If you can get a steady running game with all those guys, Pickens and Jackson and Washington, dare I say it's gonna be. We're gonna learn a lot about him, BJ, in week 1. But yeah, you had JT Daniels who's gonna push. JT Daniels, I don't think he's allowed to throw a check down. The boy gonna throw it 60 and 70 every other play. So a downfield passing game, balanced running game. Yeah, JT Daniels got a shot to be really, really good.
In terms of just quarterback talent, where do you think the league is at? Obviously, you've lost a lot the last couple of years to the National Football League. Where is this group, or is this a group that you really need some playing time to season midway, about halfway through the list on down?
Yeah, it's unproven. It's unknown, and I'm not talking about from a sheer talent ability. Okay, a lot of these guys are going to end up in the NFL, but I'm talking about in terms of proven experience. Let's use the SEC in comparison to the Sun Belt, okay? And keep in mind the Sun Belt is a group of 5 conference. Well, in the Sun Belt, you have Grayson McCall, who was one of the most efficient passers in the country last year. You have Levi Lewis, who's been one of the best quarterbacks in all of college football, has been to a couple of conference championship games. You have transfers coming in like James Blackman, who had over 40 career touchdown passes at Florida State. You got Chase Bryce, who's been a starting quarterback at Clemson and Duke, and is now the starting quarterback for Appalachian State. We were talking about South Carolina. South Carolina's former star quarterback, Jake Bentley, is now the quarterback at South Alabama. James Graham, who I believe started either a year or close to a full year at Georgia Tech, is probably going to be your starting quarterback at Georgia Southern. Cornelius Brown had over 20 total touchdowns for Georgia State last year. You're talking about Lane Hatcher at Arkansas State. I mean, in terms of proven commodities, there's the Sun Belt. Look at the ACC. You're talking about Sam Howell. You're talking about De'Aaron King. You're talking about Mackenzie Milton. You're talking about Devin Leary. I mean, I think the SEC, and do I think guys like Bryce Young are going to be superstars in about 9 months? Yes. But sitting here in February, Kevin, I think this is one of the kind of least proven crops of quarterbacks overall we've entered an SEC season with in recent memory.
Yeah, but at the same time too, though, BJ, look at what the SEC just had. I mean, you go from Joe Burrow, Tua, Jalen Hurts and those guys. I mean, you had a bunch of guys coming out. But I will say, Matt Corral got a chance to light it up. I don't know if he's going to be a Heisman winner, BJ, because of the team. Bryce Young is going to be a star because I don't think you're not allowed to be a star at the quarterback position since two of those guys benefited when AJ McCarron and those guys started. Like Taj Boyd started at Clemson, Deshaun Watson, Kelly Bryant, Trevor Lawrence, but JT Daniels. I'm gonna say this about JT Daniels. Is he finally gonna be the one? Like, when's the last time Georgia had a Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback? It's been a long time, and I'm not just saying in Athens. Outside of Athens, it's the national perception. BJ Bo Nix, I mean, right now he got to stop living in the shadows of his dad and go out there and be himself. I don't know. Emory Jones is going to be efficient. He's not going to be – and I just think that you got a lot of improving guys. But if I'm, as a group, comparing them to, the Sun Belt and the ACC, nah. This ain't the year. I think it's going to be about the skill position players, not necessarily quarterbacks. I can be proven wrong. I hope I am. But the Sun Belt and the ACC, you got some guys.
I mean, think about it. Even out in the Big 12, you got Brock Purdy and Spencer Rattler and guys throwing it all over the field. So a lot of questions. They'll be fine. It'll take some time, but right now, a lot of questions.
Yeah, inexperienced bunch, as BJ said. We've got more to come here on 3 and Out. We'll talk a little Braves baseball, pitchers and catchers coming up later this week. Doc Herbert, Platinum Sombrero Podcast, will join us next. It's 3 and Out, Southern Pigskin Radio Network. It's 3 and Out all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Kevin, BJ, and Ben here on this Monday, streaming live, ESPNCoastal.com, as well as on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as well. But we are glad you are with us. Braves pitchers and catchers reporting on Thursday. Braves signed Jason Kipnis to a minor league deal earlier today, just the latest move that the Braves have made. And joining us here to talk about the team as they head down to South Florida, host of the Platinum Sombrero podcast, Doc Herbert, joins us here on 3 and Out. Doc, welcome to the show again. How are you?
I'm doing great. I love the fact that we've got this recurring thing set up. I've got a great little rapport with you guys.
Hey, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, certainly. And again, I know we're excited about the Braves coming back. Where do you see this team standing? Pitcher and catchers report on Thursday. Are you content with what they have right now, or do you need to see a few more moves before you feel good about rolling into the 162?
You know, just based on the way that Alex Anthopoulos tends to do things, I think that even whatever team breaks camp and winds up on that 26-man roster, he's not really bashful about making moves at any point during the season. So it's important to remember that that whoever's on that roster on April 1st when they open the season against Philadelphia, it's certainly not a finished product. Me personally, I would like to see one really good right-handed bullpen piece. You look at some of the lefties they've got in the pen with Will Smith, Tyler Matzik, AJ Minter. They've got some really, really good left-handed firepower. And as it stands now, Chris Martin is the best righty that they've got in the pen, and he's really good. But I think if you add, I know Mark Melancon just went to the Padres, but Shane Green is still out there looking for a job. Trevor Rosenthal, who has the past couple of years has been pretty up and down, but really hit his stride last year. I think somebody like that would be a really good option to add. Bench probably needs a little bit more rounding out, but like you mentioned with the Kipnis move, they're still obviously looking to improve the team where they can. So I still have, I don't know if I'd call them concerns, but I have a few questions. But it looks like some of them are in the process of being answered.
Well, Doc, I wanted to ask you a follow-up about the addition of Kipnis, because that's a move that I didn't see a ton of reaction to online, but for a guy that you signed to a minor league deal, I mean, in 2019, so the last full season in Major League Baseball, he had 458 at-bats and hit 17 home runs. I mean, you could do worse than that with a mid-February bench addition, could you not?
Oh, no doubt about it. And he being a lefty, he still hits righties really well. And one thing that Brian Snitker has gotten much better in the past couple of years is the having really good pieces to play matchups with, especially coming off of the bench, and having the good lefty pop off the bench. Me personally, I like that a lot better than having just Pablo Sandoval on there if you're looking for some pop off the bench. So, you know, it is a minor league deal. He's still going to have to fight for his roster spot, but I would assume that he's probably got the inside track on a roll on this team.
And Doc, at what point do you expect Mike Soroka to be back out there kind of looking like his old self? And if and when that does happen, how much dangerous does that make this team as a whole?
I think they're going to be just an abundance of caution. I would kind of be surprised if he's in the opening day rotation. It would be a different story if we knew for sure whether or not there was going to be a DH, which me personally, I still think they're going to force that through in the 11th hour. But since he's going to have to bat and run the bases, I think that the nature of his injury will probably force them to keep him out maybe until late April, early May, just an abundance of caution. But when he comes back, you know, by all accounts, his rehab is going fine. And when he gets back, if you are adding Mike Soroka to, you saw Max Fried last year take the step forward. And I don't know if I would classify Fried as an ace yet, but he got close. And you saw what Ian Anderson was doing. They signed Charlie Morton. Drew Smiley is going to be in the rotation at least until Soroka gets back. Bryce Wilson, you remember what he did in the NLCS last year, and he had a really strong finish to 2020. So you've got a solid core even without Soroka. So you add Soroka back into that, and you can push one of the guys, say like Bryce Wilson, into the bullpen. Then, I mean, sky really is the limit for this team as far as arms go, which is going to be really nice after what we saw last year.
I was going to say there, Doc, after what we saw last year was, had that season been 162 games, I don't know if that Braves team was going to make it to the end. Where do you see that changing this go around?
Well, okay, so you think about last year when it was 60 games, and this team was obviously just hanging by a thread by the time the season ended. And a lot of the arms, they didn't have time to ramp up fully in spring training, and they only had to go a short period of time. They went 38% of a normal season. So as all these arms start getting stretched back out to go 162, plus whatever you got to do in spring training, plus whatever you're doing in the playoffs, I think the Braves are actually suited really well to do that because of the depth of the arms. Now, granted, you're not always going to have everybody showing up every night. You'll still have times like when Touki Toussaint might get called on to make a start where he just won't be able to string together consecutive good starts if they need him to do something like that. But just in pure depth, because there are still arms that are coming up through the system that they can rely on. So I think that the Braves are going to be in pretty good shape there, but it also is going to depend on the guys that were good last year, of the guys that were actually reliable, like Fried and Anderson, them kind of having repeat performances, which is a lot to ask.
I'm fascinated by this young man's potential. Give me a projected stat line for Christian Pache this season.
Well, the bat is always the question with him, right? Like you even saw in the NLCS last year that he, with the glove, he is just elite already. He is a top 15 defender in all of baseball already. But as far as the bat goes, I think he might struggle. I think that he's going to win the center field job out of spring training. I think we saw enough out of him for that. I'm going to say slash line is going to be, the batting average will be 231. On base will be 305, but the slugging will be around 450. I think that his hit tool is lagging behind his power tool a little bit. But if you can pair somebody, to say you've got like a 715 OPS there with Gold Glove defense, I mean, that's almost an elite player right there.
And Doug, I know we are off season away from that. I mean, but how impressed were you the fact that the MLBPA was able to get a deal done? Does that give you hope that, next off season they'll be able to get an extension?
Man, I hope so. After the shortened season this past year, it was looking like there wasn't going to be a season at all. And I was grateful for anything that they were able to squeeze out of that season. But the idea of kind of going back into a shortened season at all is, I don't think anybody wants that. And I think that the owners are pretty well aware that they can't stand to have another season where they lose as much money as they lost last year. So I think as things start to get kind of to crunch time, they're going to have their hand forced into kind of having to concede a couple of things just to keep things going. 1 year of minimized revenue is bad. 2 years of minimized revenue, I mean, that could bankrupt a team like the Pirates.
Yeah, I mean, and again, you see such a disparity. I thought I saw a tweet earlier today. It said the Dodgers are spending as much on payroll here in 2021 as 5 other teams combined in Major League Baseball. I don't remember the 5 teams, but there is obviously quite the disparity in who's trying to compete financially and who can compete financially.
Yeah, I mean, and look, the Dodgers are coming off of their first World Series win in 32 years, and they had been on the doorstep for years. They should have won in 2017 with the year that the Astros and the trash can scandal, everything was happening. So I think that while they still have Kershaw and, they're going to have Mookie Betts for forever, so, and Cody Bellinger and a couple of those guys are going to be around forever. But while they know they have a championship team, they're going just completely full bore. Who cares if they blow past the luxury tax if they get a World Series championship? But yeah, and it's weird to see people that are mad at the Dodgers for spending so much money while not looking at a team like the Pirates or the Orioles or the Marlins who are spending $40, $50, $60 million and not acting like that's part of the problem too. These teams have the money to spend. It's just a question of how willing they are to do it. So baseball is just in such a weird place right now in that way.
Finally, as the spring training approaches, what one thing are you most looking forward to finding out with the Braves this spring?
I am really, really intrigued about Austin Riley. He has got such massive potential, and he has flashed it at certain points over the past 2 years. And the biggest question in him with 2019 was, why can't he hit a slider? And then last year he was able to hit sliders, but he suffered in being able to hit fastballs. So if he can find a way, if he can find that happy medium between the two, he has got absolute star potential in my eyes. It's just, can he find the balance? That's one of the storylines I'm looking at for the spring training.
Doc Herbert joining us here on 3 and Out, host of the Platinum Sombrero podcast. Doc, we appreciate the time as always. Thanks so much.
Thank you guys so much. We'll talk soon.
Hey, we'll do. We appreciate it. And again, the Braves pitchers and catchers are going to report on Thursday as they get back at it. And again, I think if you're watching this team objectively, bullpen, bench, all some things that need to be addressed one way or another. Maybe that plays its way out here during spring, BJ and Ben, before you get to the regular season and you kind of see where you're at. But I can't imagine that the Braves don't make another move or two before you get to opening day.
I agree with you, but I want to re-hit this with you, Kevin, because maybe there's something here I'm not seeing. I think this signing of Jason Kipnis has the potential to be a pretty good get. I mean, he's not going to – you don't need him to be a starter, but a couple of days ago we were saying, man, the bench is really weak. Well, you have a guy here who's been a winning player, has played in a World Series, is a veteran. Again, the last full season, so in 2019, he had almost 500 at-bats, which means you're an everyday player. He had 17 home runs. He had 65 RBI. He hit 245. Normally, and this is not an exact science, but normally they say when you go from the American League to the National League, your numbers, if you were to translate it, from one season within that season, would experience a modest boost because of the power arms that are in the AL. I think you do a lot worse than that, Kevin, for a potential bench guy that could play second and third for you.
Yeah, he can play some infield. And again, I think he's more just the bench guy. That maybe this is a guy that fills one of those roles for you. Again, because the pitchers are going to hit in the National League where you need somebody to come in and get a hit off the bench and or play in the late innings from time to time. If you don't feel that Austin, I mean, I can't imagine he's going to objectively start over Ozzie Albies all that much unless it's a day off. But maybe Austin Riley defensively, I thought played pretty well, so I can't imagine him getting pulled. I think he's just another guy to have on your bench because the bench obviously needs something to make it go. And this is a guy, as you said, Appley BJ is a major league veteran, been around some winning teams, most notably the Indians. And good for him. Again, this is not one that blows me away, but again, I think we've seen more often than not guys who Alex Anthopoulos has brought in have at least filled their role and played very well. I mean, I think a lot of credit goes to Brian Snicker with that to that end as well, as allowing guys to know their roles with the team. And again, this is not going to be a guy that plays every day. I think you'd like to know what they're going to do with the catching spot behind Darno, and you'd probably like to see him sign another bullpen piece to make you feel a little bit better about it. But other than that, I feel like this team from a everyday standpoint is in pretty good shape.
Kevin, I mean, this is another thing too. I mean, I was a role player, when my time in the National Football League, and I enjoyed it. I didn't care about being the superstar at the forefront. What's more important in baseball? Superstars like shining, or the role players like, not just taking on their role, but shining in their role more often than not?
Well, I mean, and again, it's one of those things, Ben. I think baseball's no different than any other sport. I mean, you need superstars to get you there, but the role players are the reason you win a lot of times. Ronald Acuna is not going 4 for 4 every night. Mike Trout doesn't go out there and go 4 for 4 with 2 homers every night. Some nights he takes an offer and sits down. I mean, that's just the nature of the game. So, I mean, how often did you see during the Braves when they were really starting to make this surge, Charlie Culberson come up with I mean, how many games did Charlie Culberson win? I did one defensively, and I know he had a couple of clutch hits, but you see guys come off the bench and make plays that are the difference in you winning. I mean, to me, that's the back. With superstars, you'll win your 70 games, 70 to 80 games. I think with the role players, that's where you get those extra 10 to 11, 12 games that maybe you wouldn't otherwise that really push you into contending status. And again, I think Kipnis is a guy that's got some good major league experience, and if he fills his role, is going to be a good addition to the Braves. I think bench is just as important. If you have no superstars, you're not winning. You know that. I mean, that's true in any sport. But you need the complementary players to really buy into what you're trying to do as a franchise, and that, I think, is what differentiates you from being a good team and being a great team.
No. I mean, because the one thing about it is, I mean, obviously the superstars going to get the ink in the paper. They're going to be the ones that going to do the interviews. But Charlie Culberson, as you mentioned, I mean, you get used to him just coming up clutch. You get used to. So because I've always been intrigued by that. Yeah, the Mike Trout is going to be why a team, but like you mentioned, got to be able to have those complementary pieces to get those other dubs.
We got more to come here on 3 and Out, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network. Again, appreciate Doc Herbert joining us here on the show. Wes Durham voice of the Falcons, co-host of Packer and Durham on the ACC network, for joining us here on the show as well. Reminder, if you miss any portion of the show, you can catch the podcast version, espncoastal.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can go to our YouTube channel as well, at ESPN Coastal on YouTube, and you can catch the archived version of the show there as well. So plenty of opportunities for you to catch the show. If you missed any portion of it, you can hit us up on Twitter at Pigskin Radio, where the conversation always continues there as well. We'll see you tomorrow, Tuesday edition, 3 and Out, all across the Southern Pigskin Radio Network.